Welcome to Rhinos and Aliens.
What's the title? The title's all wrong now.
Because the title...
Back to the drawing board.
Yeah, because it's what if Guns Akimbo got lost in the jungle.
Well, let's do guns. Let's do that order then. Fuck it.
The title decides. What's up, Rhinos and Aliens? Thank you guys for joining us for yet another episode of Diving Deep into Entertainment. It is the 55th episode. And thank you for joining the number one Western New York podcast company, Rhinos and Aliens. We have a first-time guest, hopefully not the last time. And in front of me, we have...
My name is Mark.
Do you have a nickname?
I do not as of yet.
Okay.
I am open to receiving nicknames, however.
Okay. So next time you come on, hopefully, you're going to be with Jordan, and he's going to give you a nickname.
Wonderful. I look forward to that.
If he doesn't, then Daniel will. Daniel and Jordan are the nickname people of the company.
Wonderful.
And then, of course, if you guys don't already know, my name is Francis Mandrala, or as Daniel likes to say, Nature Boy, or as Jordan likes to say, White Luxurious. So, but just call me Francis. Okay, so for today, the topic of the episode is going to be a Daniel Radcliffe themed episode. And if you can't tell by the title, it is What If, it is Guns Akimbo, and it is the film The Jungle. We're going to give our comments here and there, but it's more so Francis picking thoughts, metaphors, ideals from these films, and then putting it on Mark and how he would react in those situations.
No pressure, Mark.
We're going to introduce the film. We're going to do a little bio, an interesting fact, and then we're going to get into the actual topic itself. So the first film is What If. Do you know what the original name for this film is and what the name is for most other countries for this film?
I do not, but that sounds interesting to hear. What is it, pray tell?
Okay, so the original name, and for most other countries, the film is actually called The F Word.
Oh, I kind of like that better.
I do too.
That's interesting. If you juxtapose his relationship with the relationship of that his friend has, Adam Driver, I feel like there's a pretty stark contrast, and they're purposely making that point sometimes.
True, but is the film about Adam Driver or Daniel Radcliffe?
It's about Daniel Radcliffe, which is why this is the Daniel Radcliffe episode.
Yes. Okay, so just so you guys know, this is a romantic comedy. It is directed by Michael Dowse, written by Ellen Mastel, and it is based on a T.J. Dahl and Michael Rinaldi play, Toothpaste and Cigars.
Really?
Which, by the way...
I like that title better.
I really hope the play is a lot different from the film because I don't know where toothpicks and cigars...
Toothpaste and cigars.
Oh, toothpaste. Yeah, toothpaste.
Not to be confused with Cigarettes and Chocolate Milk, which is a song.
It is?
Yes, it is.
Huh.
By I forgot who, but...
Okay. Do you think a lot of the play is about toothpaste and cigars, or that's somehow a metaphor
There's probably a metaphor for something that goes way over my head, and that's why I love it.
And cigars. I'm trying to think. Maybe the toothpaste is for the main female, and she's too... I don't know, man. I'm overthinking. The plot of the film. How would you describe the plot of the film?
Well, it's a...
Wallace, by the way, is the main character played by Daniel Radcliffe.
Right. So Wallace is a...
dropout from medical school.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
Who somehow has the money to fly across the country or to a different country.
By the way, that's one of the questions I had.
Right.
So don't... That was one of...
That's a common movie thing.
That was the only part of the film that actually felt like a film.
Right. I the same thing. There was a lot that I liked about this because it was realistic in terms of relationships, whereas other movies might not have made the same choices, but they still did that thing where this guy who dropped out of medical school, which is not cheap.
And from what they appeared to foreshadow, he doesn't come from a rich family.
Right. He lives with his sister.
Yes.
And he just has the cash to drop to fly to I forgot where, but...
Not only fly to, but fly right back.
Right. because that's no big deal.
Yes. Yeah, like flying to Europe is cheap, guys. It's like flying to Costa Rica.
I don't know. Maybe he has lots of miles saved up.
He could.
But anyway, synopsis-wise.
Yes.
It's basically a story about, well, I guess the main question is, can a man and a woman just be friends? And he meets someone who he wants to strike up a friendship with.
Which, key point, is the cousin of his best friend.
Exactly.
Which makes it even trickier.
More a little, like, complicated and some interesting ethical dilemmas. And he soon finds out that she has is it a fiance or just a boyfriend?
Boyfriend that turns
She's
into...
involved.
Boyfriend that turns into a fiance.
And he has feelings for her. And drama ensues.
Yes, drama does ensue. In very
so often does.
Realistic ways, I would say.
Yes.
Some maybe be overboard, but that's what makes it life and realistic.
Right. So in is this like a spoiler? Can we talk about any point in the movie?
Bro, this film, by the way, great segue. This film was technically released worldwide August 2014. So this film is, as crazy as this sounds, 7 years old, going on 7 years.
My God, that's crazy.
Yeah, so, bro, all of this is spoilers.
So you've had time. When he does, speaking of the flying thing, fly across the country to, to
Dublin.
To Dublin. Where does he? Okay, yeah, Dublin.
Dublin, Ireland. Yeah.
To profess his feelings for her, and then he tells her about this. In a traditional rom-com, I feel like that would be like, oh, that's so sweet. You flew to Dublin for me, blah, blah, blah. But she was actually angry about that.
Yeah, because she assumed that it was to break up.
Right.
Which, by the way, she broke up the relationship anyways.
Right. I mean, she had her own things, too, that she wasn't examining there. But
to be fair, that's what I would feel the average woman would do. She would, even when she might be in the wrong, she still...
Yeah. And he made a point of that, too, right?
Yes.
Right in that very scene where, well...
In the diner.
Yeah. Yep. Where... you're just afraid to examine yourself, maybe.
Which she was.
Yeah, absolutely. So in that way, it was very, realistic in terms of human interaction. And
well, I thought the dialogue was incredible. Mm. And I thought the acting was amazing.
Me too. So just quick note on Daniel Radcliffe himself.
Specifically, focus Daniel Radcliffe being a dramatic romance.
Yes, exactly. Because before this,
Harry Potter.
My only conception of him was, that's the Harry Potter kid,
nerdy, shy.
But in this, which is a very different movie, and the other two movies we'll get into later, but those are also very good in their own way and very different roles. All of these were
unique.
He just has a lot more colors, acting
diverse.
Yeah, he has much more diversity than I thought, and he was great in every one of these, and he was very different in each one of them. I was never tempted to think of him as Harry Potter once.
Which, by the way, that's the specific reason why I picked these three films, because I randomly came across them on Amazon Prime, and I didn't see two of them. I already saw What If, but I saw it so long ago, I just wanted to rewatch it. And then I was thinking about a new way to do diving deep into entertainment. I thought, this is a good basis. Either pick a director or an actor
and
that you're used to, whatever, but films that are completely different from one another.
Yeah.
And I thought, can you get a better range?
And I wonder if that's maybe like a conscious choice on his part to try to get away from being typecast, because it would be very easy after Harry Potter to like, now they'll only cast me as,
And to be fair, when you made $250+ million, not including all the royalties, by the time he was 20 or 21?
Yeah, he has the space to experiment. His career is certainly not on the line.
He could do plays for the rest of his life, and he would...
Yeah. Toothpaste and...
and cigars. Yes. It follows the beats of a typical rom-com where... rough beginning, quote unquote, happily ever after ending, but the small details is what makes this film.
And the comedy is not too out there. It's very grounded, which I appreciated. I don't like when,
very grounded and very British.
Right. Yes, which is probably why I liked it. British humor is I don't know. I like that better. It's more dry.
British humor for me is hit or miss, but I always respect British over American just because it's more, I don't want to say authentic, but more natural.
Right. And it's not just like slapstick. Not that that's like a bad thing, but
No.
It's funny in its own way, but I just feel like.
And the best way to describe that, watch the UK Office and then watch the US Office.
Oh, God. That's a whole conversation in itself, isn't it?
Maybe we're foreshadowing, guys. Okay, so now getting into... I'm going to start What If with a quote. This is one of my favorite scenes of the film when Daniel Radcliffe is talking to Adam Driver after Adam Driver gave him some advice about what to do with his cousin. So your advice is to be sleazy, conniving, or pathetic. ... When you put it like that, then it doesn't sound like good advice at all. So Daniel Radcliffe said, so your advice is to be sleazy, conniving, and pathetic. And then Adam Driver responds by saying, damn, when you put it like that, it doesn't sound like good advice at all. But when you think about it,
it wasn't good advice at all.
It wasn't good advice, but everything Adam Driver said, those are really your only three options. And technically a fourth option was given,
right.
and that was just
I was gonna mention,
being blunt. So
I feel like all the other options are things that you would unconsciously fall into one of those. It's not necessarily a choice.
Which is why, even though it's bad advice, it's realistic.
It is very realistic.
It's a lose-lose-lose situation.
And I don't feel like any of those are paths that you would want to take.
But as they pointed out, even if you're telling the truth because of the situation, and especially because of her character, it's also not a good...
I don't know. I feel like there's a way to tell the truth without the grand gesture at the last minute that would have been more digestible.
But to be fair, at that point in time, they were friends for years.
So if that went on years, that tells me that he took one of those routes, which was the pathetic one. he just kind of...
But can't two things be true at the same time to where you do want more with somebody, but at the same time you respect their situation?
Absolutely. But he also didn't necessarily... it's one thing to respect your feelings, and he never actually like made the decision to let go of it. It was always in the back of his mind.
That's true. Yes. I don't have a defense for this.
I feel like being upfront and risking blowing up the friendship was would have been the right choice.
Oh, you're talking to the blunt person. I don't.
Yeah.
I've always standing by this. I don't believe a guy and a woman can be friends unless they've already fucked or both people don't have a physical attraction to each other.
Right. No, that's true. I don't think it's impossible. I think if I think it would be a better chance if both of them were in relationships at the time.
You are a very optimistic man.
That's true. I'm not saying that that's necessarily easy, but it would take a certain kind of person, I guess.
Well, for me, I'm thinking lifetime, right? Because they're very young.
Right.
They met in their early 20s from what the film does with the details. So I'm thinking, okay, they could be friends in their 20s. They might even be able to do it in their 30s. Could they do it in their 40s, 50s? What happens if one of the marriages, because let's say they both found somebody and they got married, right? Mm. What if one of the marriages starts to break down? What if they both start to break down? I'm thinking about...
They're always the fallback.
Well, it's just not that. It's always... It only takes one moment.
Right.
It only takes one moment. And you're friends, you're already mentally attracted.
Right.
If you are physically, the only thing stopping you...
Well, this is where the honesty comes in. If he was upfront and told her, and she was upfront understanding, her attraction to him as well, then they could decide together that that's... not something that's desired or is a good idea, and they could avoid situations that would be, that would tempt them otherwise.
Life is a tricky situation because you remember on the beach, they They would have never
Right, that wasn't planned. And his asshole friend, Adam Driver. So, can I just say, his friend here, I don't want to be... he has changing attitudes throughout he's kind of a hypocrite in this movie. So the first conversation he had with him about this, he was totally against him
because of the cousin thing.
Yeah, in any way, like making a move on her or being intimate with her, even thinking about it.
Yeah.
It made him sick to think about it. He ruined his sex nacho high, as he told him in that scene.
In the kitchen.
Right.
Yeah,
yes. Yeah. Then later in the movie, he steals his clothes, their clothes, obviously trying to initiate something between them. So he has an inconsistent attitude toward their relationship.
To be fair, though, if you believe him, it was technically his wife who thought of that.
Yeah, that's fair. And
we all know a happy woman, a happy wife is a happy marriage.
That's true. And they got in a fight soon after that. Who knows what that was about? Maybe it was precipitated by.
You're assuming about Adam Driver.
Still.
Okay, so we kind of hinted about this, but I just wanted to specifically get into this. What is the code for friending, fucking, and eventually loving a best friend's family member? Specifically for this film, does it change if it's just cousins?
I don't think I don't feel like him being related to her is as much of an ethical issue as her being in a relationship is. I feel like if you're a respectful person, if which he appeared to be, then there should be no problem. If you I think you should treat every woman like it's somebody's sister, right?
That's a good way. There would be a lot less domestic.
If you're a man of integrity, then there should be no problem with that kind of thing. So yeah, I guess I don't see it as a problem.
Would your mind change if it wasn't Adam Driver's cousin but his sister? Or does your principle stay the same because of who Wallace's character is?
My principle stays the same because I'm all virtue ethics all the way. If you are a respectful person, then that doesn't change anything. Right and wrong don't change based on,
this situation.
Yeah. Right and wrong are just right and wrong.
I completely agree.
Well, there you go. We settled that.
Change the age, even if this was Adam Driver's mom.
Right. I don't know. Well, now you throw.
Don't.
Wow. That immediately made me think differently.
Hey, if they have the same feelings for each other,
I don't know. Once it gets intergenerational, then
older people need love too.
Yeah, that's true.
And Wallace is obviously ahead of his time, mentally speaking. He's a sophisticated man. He has quips. He has references to stuff I don't even know.
But that would fundamentally change. So if you take it to its logical extreme, a relationship with your friend's mother would fundamentally change who you are to them, right? Then you'd be a friend, but you could also potentially be a stepfather figure. Nothing like that happens with a cousin.
But love is love.
Yeah. I'm not judging.
Okay, so...
I suppose I am.
Yeah, for me, I don't think... I feel it only changes, going back to your situation, if the friendship, the fucking, or the relationship ends in a bad way when it's Wallace's fault. So that's when it's a problem.
Right.
Like, so if Wallace wasn't a good person, then that's the issue. But then that would be an issue.
But that goes to the fact that, the caveat there is always that this is assuming that you're going to be a respectful person. If you have ill intent, then...
No matter the situation. Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so can someone actually steal a person out of a relationship if that couple is truly in love?
I think the moral burden there is more on the person in the relationship than the person outside of it. That's a decision that's some soul searching that she needs to do.
Yeah, but this is my thing. If, for example, she obviously loved Wallace, right?
Mm-hmm.
If she loved her husband as much as Wallace, no matter how much she loved Wallace, if it's even possible to love two people that much at the same time, would she even thought about Wallace in the same manner?
Probably not. They went out of their way to show the cracks in the relationship, right? He found his career more important than the relationship when she didn't. They were both in positions where they got offered promotions.
Yeah.
That she turned down because she's more invested in the relationship side of her life, and he made the exact opposite choice.
But to be fair, going off of statistics, that's how it normally happens in a relationship. The woman is more so bound, quote unquote.
That's fair.
To the family, the social life, while the man is more bound to the career,
Regardless, but even that, his career decisions took him just out of the picture for 6 months. That's a little beyond even.
But at one point, he did try to point out the fact that if he had offered, she wouldn't have moved because her entire life is in Toronto.
He never really thought about it, and he was backstepping there. He was retroactively adding in that consideration.
No, I agree, but even if he didn't mean it, doesn't that still prove a point that it's almost like you're saying you want something, but you're not willing to do it on both ends of the spectrum?
Right. Which, yeah. She has problems with that in all her relationships. It seems feeling one thing and not
going through with it. Yeah, she does,
and not actually acknowledging it. So
until the end, obviously.
Right. Because it has to end that way. Because it's a rom-com.
That is a perfect ending. Did you watch the end credits too? By the way, how they were? It
was like their wedding.
Yeah,
right?
they showed
and stuff.
Yeah, that was a very cute.
It's like the Armageddon end credits. You ever seen that movie?
Yes, I have. That is.
That's actually exactly like that was. Rip off. Now that I think of it. No, I'm just kidding. It was very different, but it was the same.
No, the concept.
Yeah.
It's so weird because these are two completely.
I'm sure there are other movies who've done that too. Probably there has to be. Seems like a pretty natural choice. Can I just say too about the when they were doing the hypotheticals of how he was going to deal with the situation? I also appreciated the what would Bruce Willis do moment as well. I thought that was pretty funny. Like,
can you describe it?
Well, when he gave the last option and he said honesty, he's like, he said
when they were walking down the sidewalk,
he said, he's like, do you think Bruce Willis would put up with this shit? And I really appreciated that. But it actually led them into a conversation about masculinity, which I appreciated, because I feel like there's this misconception that this pop conception of masculinity, that it's about pushing down, your feelings and being the same misconception of like stoicism in the modern world, whereas that it's about being heartless and just taking what you want and blah, blah, blah. But I think, true masculinity lies in being
diverse,
being honest with yourself and contending with feelings so that you create a relationship with them to where they don't control you and wave you around.
And I think Bruce Willis.
And what would Bruce Willis do? But since we're on the Armageddon topic anyway.
I think Bruce Willis would make the quote-unquote masculine move just because Bruce Willis was born that way. I feel Bruce Willis is quote-unquote more a man than Daniel Radcliffe in terms of masculinity.
I don't think there's a question about that at all. Yeah.
But it's being true to himself. So
yes, he would be pure honesty.
Yes. Daniel Radcliffe, just because of his character, he probably would do what this film character did. Assuming
Daniel Radcliffe himself.
Yeah.
Probably. Probably.
From what we know, I know.
Yes. Anyway, I just thought it was funny asking what Bruce Willis would do. It's like a turn on the manly version of what would Jesus do or what would Socrates do, what would Chuck Norris do,
or a director version of what would Michael Bay do.
Right. Well, he'd blow it up, obviously.
What's more masculine than that?
Cars and explosions.
Okay, so we hinted at this, but we really didn't get into this. Can opposite sexes actually be attracted to each other and just be friends? And And I want to go down both roads, physical and mental.
I'm still a firm yes on that.
You think they can?
Yeah.
Okay, but when I say friends, I mean actual friends, not what
Right.
Daniel,
We're not talking like
they have a low-key motive.
right.
So, for example, be it man or woman or two women, two men, could one person be attracted, let alone both?
I think it depends on the kind of person you are and your ability to be honest with yourself first of all, and have your emotions and urges in check. I think that some people are not as highly motivated by sex as others, so you can still have those urges, but not consider them important.
Okay, so hypothetically speaking, let's say one of the people, they're not motivated by sex, but they're in this situation where they can have sex. If they act on it in any manner, is that still a true friendship? They begin the process, like they begin taking the clothes off, but then they...
Oh, is that still, have they then gone beyond the friendship, and
yes.
is it forever tarnished?
Yeah. Because I know if I had...
Can you come back from that?
Like, for example, let's say I looked at a girl the same way I look at all my guy friends, right? And for whatever reason, she started stripping in front of me. Mm-hmm. I would never allow my guy friends to strip in front of me unless I knew it was a joke.
That is very different. Yeah, that is very different when you put it that way.
Right? So if I let her keep going, that is technically breaking the bound. Just like this comes down to what is cheating, right?
Right. And it's certainly different.
It is, but it comes down to what is your line of friendship. Because if you have a different perspective on friendship, then it might be a different answer. For me, the moment you allow anything to go past...
That's assuming that we have like a singular definition of what friendship is. I think not even in terms of being friends with different sexes, but even in terms of each individual person you have a friendship with, there's a slight different quality to what that means.
That is true, but if you're sexually aroused by any friend, that's...
Is it still a friend?
You could be friends.
You can be friends with an ex lover, right?
Oh, I believe that because you already fucked them.
So what's the difference? Yeah, right. So what's the difference?
For me, it's the fucking.
Right.
No, I'm being so serious, bro. Right. That's why at the beginning of this, I said two people can't be friends if they haven't fucked or they're physically attracted.
Sex to save the friendship.
Dude, because it's at least...
That reminds me of a Seinfeld thing.
At least from a man's perspective, the moment you have sex with a woman, right? It takes that urge away.
Again, I think this comes back to your relationship with sex itself and how important of a thing you find it to be.
Okay.
What pedestal you put that on. I think there's people who could overcome that, and there's people who can't. It's based on the individual. I think everything comes down to the individual. It's really hard to make sweeping statements.
No matter what anybody tries to put on in the right situation, that inner demon comes out.
Right. Yeah, of course. It's always the inner demon is always there. But
I personally, if they are a fully healthy human being, I don't believe it.
Well, I don't know. It's mostly in like spiritual seekers, but there are people who make it a business to not be trapped down by anything biological.
Yeah, right? But from a lot of this, you're talking about Hinduism, Buddhism, right?
Anything.
Well, from a lot of the people I've looked up, they have had sins in their life.
Absolutely.
Right?
Religion would be out of business if there were no sin.
So for me, I know where you're coming from. I'm just the pessimistic in this situation.
I see that. I don't know. I'm an optimist.
I see that too. There's nothing. Hey, that's a good dynamic. As long as they don't act, they can still think about it. Then it's a friendship.
Yes, it's still a friendship. I was going to say, even if they go through with it, it's still a friendship.
What do you mean go through with it?
Even if they do have sex, it could still be a friendship.
Not if it was after the friendship started.
Not if it was after the friendship started?
No, because that means you wanted more.
Right.
Because if you were true friends, you would never allow yourselves to have sex.
But does that take away? Does that mean so?
By the way, I'm not saying you can't be friends and be more.
I guess does that one act take away everything? Take away everything that was a part of the friendship?
Okay.
Does it mean to just say that, well, none of this other stuff mattered then because this is the true motive?
We're saying,
like, does there have to be a true motive at all?
Okay, we're saying they're just friends, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so if you're in a relationship for 30 years and you only cheat once, were you only faithful? Even if it was only once.
Right.
Were you only... Because, bro, don't forget,
that's a good point.
I'm taking words literally.
Right.
And by the way, I'm being the counter...
No, that's a good point. No, you were not faithful, but you were not faithful, but there are marriages that go through this and they can come back from it. It doesn't mean that everything... It need not mean that everything was garbage, and it doesn't make it okay either.
I'm not saying if you cheat, you're a shitty person. I'm not saying if you cheat only once, you have a bad relationship.
But it doesn't. It certainly changes the relationship.
Exactly.
But it doesn't make it not a relationship.
That's a good point.
Yeah, okay. I guess we need to define terms here. What is friendship?
Can friends fuck? So do you believe in friends with benefits?
No, that's a stupid concept.
Okay, so if you believe in that, how can you say two friends can fuck and it's fine?
Okay, they're not friends while they're fucking. but
I'm not taking this L. I got you, bro. Now, to be fair, if let's say a random situation, a one-night stand, right? And then 2 years later, they came back together. And it was strictly friends.
Right.
I can believe that it can be just a friendship. But
that's a milestone that has to be crossed first.
Yes.
Right.
But if you're friends for 2 years, and even if it's only once, but obviously if it's more then obviously. But even if it's only once, if you have sex and neither of you try to stop the process, I cannot believe a human being.
I don't think that it invalidates every other motive, though. It doesn't mean that you weren't really their friend also.
But you weren't only your friend.
That I give you. They weren't only.
That's all I'm saying. I'm saying either person, even if it's the slightest motive, it was still something more.
Yeah, I can see the point. So you take her position then. When she gets angry with him because when she finds out about his feelings for her immediate reaction is that it invalidates everything about their relationship up to that point.
I don't agree with either of them because
they're both pretty stupid.
Well, not that. Because more than one thing can be true at the same time. She had a point with that, but as he pointed out, she's a hypocrite because when they were on the beach, she's the one who initiated the naked scene.
Right. No, I agree. But I also don't think that either of their just friends' feelings for each other were fake.
Whenever two sexes are attracted to each other, right? Friendship can always lead to more. But when she tried to put it on him saying it was only friendship from start to end, she was lying because I believe they both started off as friends.
Right.
I just believe he wanted more quicker than she did. But she eventually got to the same point that he did. So they're both in the wrong.
Yes. This is a movie filled with horrible people.
It depends on how you view life and people.
No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, no, I agree with you.
Well, that was a good one. For the question, I shouldn't have said opposite sexes. I should have just said sexes who are attracted to each other, if we're being technical. Okay, I like this question. It's a follow-up. Okay. We already hinted at this. Which sex is more likely to crack first?
Men. That we're just... Biologically alone, men are more motivated to. It's just that's just a Darwinian thing, and then also like
Which is a
emotionally, even though this is not popular, emotionally men are more needy. That's just a fact. In rates of people who get remarried after like widows and widowers, the man is much more likely to have to find a new spouse because we just can't take being alone.
But that's the key point. Men are more needy single.
Right.
Women are more needy when they're in a relationship. That's
fair.
That's the only thing I would add.
I think those are sourced from the same things, though, because women behave differently in relationships. The reason women are okay alone is because they interact with their friends differently. They get emotional support and much more from their friendships than guy friendships do. Guy friendships don't fill that gap. They need a woman to get that kind of support from. When a woman comes into a relationship, she expects the same thing from her spouse as she gets from all her relationships, because that's just what a relationship is, isn't it? So women are better at providing that kind of thing. Not that men can't.
Which is why they're better alone.
Right.
With the neediness.
Right. But we have pieces missing, I guess. Men.
No, we do. We do. It's one of those, I can't remember the saying correctly. When we're single, we basically...
Yeah, there's a whole part of our psychology that we're just cut off from.
Yeah. But the moment we're in a relationship, it fills that need.
But that can also, become a lot because we're not used to it. So, yeah. And this isn't like, obviously,
on
everyone's
average.
an individual. We're talking in big, sweeping, statistic-wise.
Bro, on average, yes.
Yeah.
There's stereotypes for a reason.
Yeah.
Now, to be fair, I want to give you a scenario and say if you still believe this. Who's going to crack first in the friendship? If you have... It doesn't even matter about how good looking the guy is. The guy is not physically attracted to the woman whatsoever, but the woman is so head over heels mentally attracted to the guy. Who cracks first then? I would say, by the way...
so there's no physical attraction from either side, as you're saying?
You're assuming there's no physical attraction. I'm just saying there's more mental than physical for the woman.
Okay.
By the way, I agree with you. Normally, the man would crack first, just because
But you think in this situation the woman would?
But
can you explain it again?
Okay, so what if the man is not physically attracted to the woman? Mm-hmm. I'm not saying he isn't mentally, but I'm also not saying he is. Now, what if the woman is mentally attracted to the man? Really, really mentally. She loves him. I'm not saying she is or she isn't physically, but mentally she really is. Who cracks first then?
I don't have an answer for that. I think you do, though.
I think the woman cracks in that situation. I think that's one of the few because I feel the main reason why men would crack first is just because the physical urges gets to them.
You think the biological is stronger then? Again, this comes down to...
But I'm speaking on average.
Right.
Because this is a on average question. Like, for example, normally who holds out longer for sex? On average, it's normally the women.
Yes.
So that's why the man normally cracks first. But if there's no physical attraction, especially if he's getting physical needs taken care of from other places...
Well, you didn't say that at first. If he's not, then I think it's still the man. Because...
Hey, no, but the question you assumed in other situations too. Because in this film, he could have been having sex with another woman.
That's true. There were other options.
He decided not to because he was so attracted, both physically and mentally, to her. Because you remember her sister. He could... I'm still...
Honestly, in this... No, I want to hear what you just...
I'm so pissed, bro. Now, that car scene...
No, I was proud of him.
Because to be fair, even the horn dog I am, if she put me in that situation, I would have, like, what?
That was just like weird. Yeah, like what a way to.
I don't want to get rape accused right now. What's going on? But the moment
she don't make this my idea.
Yes, but to be fair, the moment she would have made it clear, okay, let's go fuck. I was, oh, okay, yeah.
Now that we've cleared up that misunderstanding,
Yes.
let's go.
But to be fair, he held his ground, and I respect that.
It wasn't even like an internal battle for him either. He was just kind of.
Well, to be fair, he's not attracted to her at all.
Right.
Like, I don't even think he was physically attracted to her.
No, I don't think so. Yeah, I think he was just weirded out the entire time.
Yeah. And then you add on it's her sister. It's just
right.
That's a no-go.
Which, good on him. That's why I wouldn't mind him dating my cousin.
It comes back.
It always does.
Okay, so just to be clear, you think in every situation the man cracks first? Even this scenario.
I don't know what that says about my self-image, but
God, man. Let me not find out you hate men now. Okay. I just hinted at this. Would you have turned down sleeping with your female best friend's hot sister?
That would depend on the nature of the friendship.
Okay, so if they were just friends,
right,
then obviously you're not turning it down, right?
Then yeah, probably not. It also depends on the sister too. Like that scene in the car, I would have turned down because I was just weird.
Now, to be fair, anybody who would have turned down her in that situation, I don't blame you because those are definitely rape
That's
vibes.
getting into some sticky, like, yeah.
Yes. But knowing her for the entire film, because obviously we're seeing her behind, like we're seeing stuff that Daniel Radcliffe didn't see. I just know she's a little whore and she just broke up and she wants some makeup sex.
Right. Or he doesn't know any of that though.
Exactly. So that's why I'm biased.
From his perspective, it was a good call. But you're right. You have more of an omnipotent point of view.
But to be fair, he wasn't just friends, so that would change that situation too. Which, by the way, if I was really in love with a woman,
but he also had alternative motives because he had a hypothetical vision in that scene of I don't know her name. The friend saying, "If you do this,
I'm never going to talk to
you." Anything happening between us is just never going to happen.
Which do you believe?
So was that a selfish motive?
Oh, that's good.
Because engaging in that would have he was trading, in a sense.
So technically, the unselfish move would have actually been sleeping with her,
right?
Holy shit. Wow. No, that's a great perspective. I wasn't even thinking about it from that. Because technically speaking, he only turned it down because
after he considered that.
That fucking selfish hobo.
Yeah, I know. Jesus.
God.
Everyone in this movie is a horrible person. And I withdraw that he can date my cousin.
Yeah, bro. You think you know somebody.
I know.
Wow. Who would have thought that
horrible.
Sleeping with a friend or a sister would have actually been the right move in a situation like this?
Yeah. Remember that. Sometimes it's the right thing to do.
Now, we hinted at this at the beginning of the episode. What were your thoughts about him flying from Toronto to Dublin, discovering that his love just booked a flight back to Toronto after being punched in the face?
Like, after being punched in the face.
Yeah, like, first off, what...
Not before or during.
Well, I want to know personally, could you even put yourself in a situation like this, or is this just too film-like?
It's too... That was the only part that felt like I was watching a rom-com.
I agree.
Both the lack of consideration for money and just the grand gestures of, people don't do this. He would have called her.
That was the first thoughts for me.
She wouldn't even gotten a phone call. He would have texted.
Yeah, why did you not ask where she was in the... Because think about it. Think about the time and the money he would have saved if he just communicated. He could have stayed in Toronto.
But was he trying to... Was the grand gesture part of his motive?
That's... We can't say for sure.
Either way, this wouldn't have really happened because there's no way he's affording that flight.
But hypothetically...
Where was he flying from?
Toronto.
Toronto to Dublin. How far is that? I have no sense of...
It's roughly 6.5 hours.
Okay. Well, that's not as bad as I thought, but still, that's
No, but bro, trust me.
expensive.
When you go across the Atlantic, specifically
Yeah,
Europe,
airfare is not...
oh, sometimes it's more expensive than the actual trip itself.
Right. Right.
And he took 2 flights, and it
Right.
wasn't a
was
round
nothing.
trip.
He wasn't just stuck in Dublin.
No. Okay, but if we had to put ourselves in a situation, how would you be feeling in that situation? You just got punched in the face by what is now her ex, and you just found out she's flying back. Would you have done the same thing as him? As like, oh, fuck, and then booked right back? What would your thoughts?
I would have went right back. Yeah, I would have felt validated in my assumption because she did the same damn thing, right?
Yeah, like I was right. I did.
Guess this was the right move.
Yes.
I mean, getting punched in the face would have been confirmation enough.
I just spent $2,000 for no reason.
Right. Totally worth it.
But in his mind, it was totally worth it.
That's what he thought as he was falling down the steps.
He did do that too. Which, to be fair, the ex-fiance, the woman he was, I believe, cheating with,
right?
She was attractive.
Yes, she was.
So if he was just looking for a,
do you believe him?
What did he specifically?
That they were not. They were. I think. What did he say? They were just. She had too much to drink. She's a coworker, and I was helping her walk back to her residence.
I am going to take him on his word, but personally, I don't believe him. So I'm not going to say he's lying because I don't 100% know, but personally, I believe he was cheating.
If it weren't for the look, his reaction upon like seeing her, he didn't even get accused of anything, and he was already like, oh yeah, the guilt.
Yeah, and then you also notice how what woman who isn't fucking that guy would be so nonchalant about being thrown off of a 5-step high?
He's thrown everyone in this movie down those steps.
For real. No, seriously, what woman, especially as attractive as she is, would be... Because you remember, she came back into his apartment asking for ice and saying, oh, I'm going to be next door.
Well, I don't know. I think actually you're less likely as a friend to be angered by that.
Man, if the roles were reversed and a woman did that to me, the only way I'm not cussing her out is if she's laying some bomb.
I mean, I'm sure she understands context too. He didn't throw her down the stairs. He was surprised and he let go of her
when she was pretty wasted.
Right.
And she took a tumble. Right. A good friend wouldn't have done that. An innocent friend
That's not a good friend move.
An innocent friend wouldn't have done that.
Good friends let their help their drunk friends climb up staircases.
Yeah, and keep them there.
Yeah, that's the key.
That's the key.
You can make it all the way up those steps. In fact, the farther you make it, the worse it is when you give in.
Okay, so to finish out this film, what would you be willing to do in order to be with the love of your life?
Oh, jeez.
So what's the furthest you would go?
What's the biggest airfare I'd pay?
To relate it to this film, yeah.
I don't. That's something that I don't know, man. I'm young, but I'm also getting too old for all that grand romantic nonsense. I appreciate simplicity best. I'm of the I like the natural course of things. If you have to fight too hard to make something fit, is it really? Those things are nice to have. I think it's good that we have those stories. But that's what they are, stories. They're not something to necessarily. But yeah, I'm a total romantic. But yeah, I just don't think that's necessarily. I don't think it's realistic. I don't think it need be. I think it's great for what it is, and it's inspiring. But it's not real. They have this conversation in the movie too. When they go to they see Princess Bride in the movie, and he makes the point about love in fantasy versus
when they randomly
versus yeah. And I think my thoughts are his in that regard.
But isn't it funny he ended up doing
exactly the opposite? Of course he does, because it's a rom-com. Because love is real. Maybe I'd feel different. if I was in his situation.
But this is my follow-up. What if somehow you knew it was real? Like, let's just say that
I can't come up with an obstacle that I'd be willing to overcome. The obstacle would just have to be there, and then I'd decide whether it was worth it or not.
But how would you know?
You wouldn't.
It would be in the moment,
You wouldn't
right?
until you're in that situation.
I would never say never.
I feel like those things are not. It's not an intellectual exercise anyway. I think most people who make grand gestures, if they were just sitting being questioned about it, a hypothetical in love, would you do this? They'd say no. But
it's emotional.
Your logic is obviously not what's motivating you in those times.
That's why the path of arguments is logos, ethos, and pathos.
Exactly.
Or pathos, tomato. But
yeah, so the appeal to the emotion is
if it was mutual. That's the key thing, because you can't just do something.
Part of those gestures, though, is that you don't know that it's mutual, and part of what's sweet about it is that you put the act of humility is putting yourself on the line that way.
I agree, but I really feel that only works in films.
Right.
Because it's always easy to say that, but for example, let's say you're moving to not only a completely different city, you're moving to a completely different country on a completely different continent.
Right.
It's easy to say, oh yeah, I'll do this for love, but unless you know she or that person feels at least there's a mutual respect.
Right.
Are you willing to completely change, and it might even ruin your life for something like this? So for
what? Yeah, no. The answer is no. Yeah.
So I would be willing
too risky
to go as far as I would completely change my city, my country, and my continent if I just had something.
Right. You need some kind of like confirmation.
Yes. I could not do what he did.
Right.
But what he did really wasn't even...
You literally couldn't do what he did because you would not have the money.
Yes. Yeah.
Sorry to keep belaboring that point, but...
Oh, it's a valid point. It's a plot hole. It's a plot hole.
Unless you just maxed out a credit card or something.
True. But would a person in his situation really have a credit card that would allow...
His credit score is probably horrible.
Yes. He has massive student loan debt.
Right.
Unless Toronto is different and Canada just gives out credit cards for the...
Who knows? I don't know.
Okay. Now, just to finish this out, would you live in a city across the world in Asia for a year? For a job? Just to go back to...
No, that's so much pressure.
Yeah.
No. I don't... That's another, like, romantic idea that's nice to think about, but in reality, that would terrify the crap out of me. I wouldn't be able to do that.
Well, for me, it's more so I would only be able to do it as if you're getting paid legit money. For example, if you go to the city she went and she's getting $500K a year, then...
Oh, right. Obviously, a lifestyle change has to be a big payoff.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. Of that magnitude.
But if you're moving just for a 25% raise,
But it depends where is it? Is it someplace you've always wanted to live? Like, I'm sure that is a factor, too.
Oh, yeah, but to be fair with this question, she did not want to live in Asia.
Oh, yeah, right.
And she only went to Asia because...
Did she end up taking it? She took it, right? At the end?
Because he went with her.
Right.
And he did...
Because he had the money to do that, too, and stop working.
Well, to be fair...
And then he went back to school after, too, because...
No, he went to school during.
Remotely.
No, I think he went to school in Asia.
Oh, yeah, because they were talking about how his credentials didn't mean anything. So why?
And then don't forget that they did the credit scene, and then they showed that if you watched all the credits, they showed how when he went there, she was doing her job, and they showed the medical stuff.
Huh.
Yeah. So love is real, guys.
It is. It makes us do stupid things.
Love is real. Now we're going to the next film, and this is why we started off with What If, because I think we had the most to say about this film. Guns Akimbo.
Okay. Is that how you say that? Akimbo. I had to look up the meaning of that word.
What's the meaning of that word?
I don't completely remember. It was something about like limbs flailing in a way. So I see, like, I guess the guns are on his limbs and they flail around. I don't know. You should look it up.
That would make sense for the film, though.
It was like, yeah, guns akimbo. So that's the description of his flailing about.
With hands on the hips and elbows turned outward.
Okay, but read the next one. That's more fitting.
Of other limbs flung out widely or haphazardly.
That more says the movie to me.
But technically, the first definition isn't that bad because
it's not. They both apply.
No, but the second one is.
That was like a nickname that viewers gave him in the thing, right?
In the film.
Who is pretentious enough to come up with that nickname yet also watches Schism?
That is, you're being judgmental right now.
I am.
Holy, that describes everything perfectly. Wow. Yeah. Well, this, guys, if you're wondering, this is a 2019 film. And okay, so technically speaking, this is a New Zealand action comedy film written and directed by Jason Lou Howden, and it stars Daniel Radcliffe. And by the way, did you ever see that one film where a female gets married into a family and she was only getting married so she could be sacrificed to the devil?
No, that sounds like a
It stars Samara Weaving, who played the main female.
Really?
Yes.
No,
this is killing.
So she must be a New Zealand actress then. Huh. Do you know, does it say who did the special effects?
A lot of people did the special effects.
Oh, I was wondering if it was Weta Workshop.
No.
I love Weta. They did the Lord of the Rings movies.
Ready or Not. Have you seen that film?
I don't know what that is.
Oh, bro. It's fucked up.
Is it?
I understand why she was in this film, too. She does...
Ready or Not?
Yeah.
Wait, this is... Weta did this one, too?
Oh, no.
You're just talking about her? Okay.
Samara
Gotcha.
Weaving. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
Gotcha.
Weta only does high-profile stuff.
Right.
High profile. And you could tell...
Post Lord of the Rings.
But I thought Weta was created by Jackson.
Yes, before Lord of the Rings, he was all very, very small budget gore films was his thing.
Okay, I see your point.
So they grew in stature along with him.
Yes,
I believe. I mean, don't quote me.
No, you're right. Because they did King. That's what I was thinking about. They did King Kong. They did
right.
Yeah, they're opening up a animation studio too now. Did you hear about that?
No, that's not. You're not talking about Andy Serkis's thing, the Imaginarium.
No, Weta. Weta is opening an animation studio.
Well, like you mean like animated,
like Pixar,
like Pixar level. Oh, no shit. No, I didn't know that. Interesting.
And they also did Tintin, The Adventures of Tintin. If you saw that animated film, Weta did that.
Yes, yeah, I knew that was a Jackson thing. I didn't. Yeah.
Or they helped. They didn't fully do it.
Right. Oh, that's cool.
Okay, so this film. The plot of this film is basically, it's an alternative future underground fight club and criminal organization schism. And
that's a mouthful. This is a ridiculous movie in the best of ways.
Bro, the best way to describe this film, I think everybody who is into films should see it. But I never want to see it again.
Right, neither do I. It certainly set a tone. Like everything, the way it was shot and everything, it took you in. It was made for a gamer to watch. Obviously, the way it was shot, the action, the even the metaphors they use in the writing, like
the metaphors. You remember the one scene where they're walking on the street and they have the actual imagery popping up of what they're doing on the phone.
Right. Yep. Like that. And at one point when he's talking about the girl that he likes, he says as if treat her as if she was an Xbox achievement to be unlocked.
Yeah, at one point he was literally gaming before.
Yep, exactly. And then his guns, like it shows like how much ammo he has on the screen and that kind of thing.
Obviously
this was made with a specific demographic in mind.
Yes, it was.
And that's fine for what it is. It's definitely not something I would have watched on my own. It was as you said, it was a thrill, but I'm never gonna watch it again.
Yeah, it's just.
It was a lot. It was a lot.
And to be fair,
I was stressed while I was watching.
Like many video games, by the time the credits rolled, I was tired of it.
Right.
It got...
But it did also oddly... it was oddly... it made an oddly intelligent point, I think, about the toxicity of internet culture and trolling and that kind of thing by literalizing it to the absurd degree. This is all the negativity and, you know, the horrible bloodlust, you know,
taking it all the way to one spectrum.
Keyboard warriors and saying, like, if it was really like this. And that was kind of the lesson of the movie, too, right? That he was being taught a lesson because he was, which I think we should all, you know.
He was in the wrong?
I think we should all comment on things as if someone might kidnap us
or kill you
and bolt guns to our hands.
Yeah.
So that they flail about.
I think this
Akimbo.
You never know who you're talking to on the other end of the screen.
You don't.
And he was in a bad mood. Yo, and by the way, everything about this film really was game based. He was a big gamer.
Yeah.
He worked for a gaming company, even though
did he? Yeah. Okay.
It was a phone gaming company. That stupid
right,
squirrel thing or whatever.
Nut something.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Yep.
And he had the stereotypical douche manager who knew nothing about games.
Right.
Which is so familiar.
Like what?
You're the manager of something, yet you know nothing.
You know nothing. Yeah,
about the business.
I think it's a requirement in some places. And yeah, he had like a little. He had a nice little arc too. Like halfway through the movie, like, you know, he confronts his boss because now he has more balls because of the schooling he's had.
And he doesn't have the balls because of the guns. He just has the balls.
Because he's been through some shit at this point. He's like, you know what? Screw you.
Yeah, bro. Now thinking about the entire film is set up like a game too, like the boss fights.
Yeah, he unlocks achievements and yeah. He levels up, as you would say.
And just like every great game, it hints at a sequel.
Yeah, it does. A bigger, better one. There's schisms all over the place. I don't think my heart rate can take the next film.
How would you even make a next film with the same budget? You would have to triple the budget of this film to even.
And he no longer has guns
on his
nailed to his. So if you consider that the trope that was like the thing of this movie, how do you top that?
Yeah,
he can't be as interesting in the next one. Oh, by the way, you know what those reminded me of? While we're on the topic of games, is they reminded me of. Do you know the God of War games? Kratos, his punishment from the gods has they're burned, seared onto his. Yeah.
And he could never get rid of them.
That's probably the only game comparison I could ever do because I'm not a gamer, but that reminded me of that. The first thing I thought.
No, that is an excellent comparison in every way.
I wonder if that was conscious in any way or not, but
because theoretically, if Kratos existed in the modern time,
that was Kratos' punishment.
Yeah. But if Kratos was in the modern time, instead of it being chains, it would have been some type of guns.
Yeah, it would have been guns, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, yeah.
I'm the gamer. I'm more of a gamer than you, and I didn't even... See, that's why you're here, man. That's why you're here. Bro, you nailed that one. What would it take for you to believe that you just woke up with any type of thing bolted to you, let alone guns?
What would it take for me to believe it?
Yes.
I think the pain might tip me off.
No, but for me...
Like, this is actually happening kind of thing?
For me, I feel he reacted too quickly. To where...
Right, like there wasn't like a slow... Yeah. He didn't... It wasn't absurd to him as absurd to him as it should have been.
Which is
like, as it was to us.
Which is another reason why it felt like a video game. Because in a video game, you're just...
like, oh, of course.
Yeah, and then you just go into the quote-unquote story of the game at that point.
So he wasn't shocked enough by his... Yeah, everything happened too fast. Like, it's... Yeah, it wasn't a movie where they wanted you to have time to digest things. It was just the next thing and the next thing.
But like I said, I'm just asking you questions. How would you... Like, what would have been your process in that?
I would not have...
Because for me, as you're thinking about this, I legit would have went back to sleep. I would have thought this is a very painful and believable dream.
So you would be trying to wake yourself up.
Yes.
Kind of thing.
Yes. There's no way, bro. Now, to be fair, I'm thinking about the world I live in. So I'm not thinking about
because it's not right.
Because his world is, as they said, it's an alternate future.
Right. And we cannot take that as the same. In a world where something like schism does exist, this is more, still surprising, but more digestible.
More realistic, digestible, yeah.
Right. No matter what he did with those couple minutes, what's-her-face was coming down that hallway to his apartment.
But he didn't know at the time, though.
He didn't know at the time. So, yeah. No, and he didn't go... I wouldn't have went back to sleep. I don't...
Well, what would you have done, mister?
I don't know what I would have done. I would have... Could he feel... I'm wondering if he could feel the pain.
He must have, because... No, I don't know.
How do you have to realize that there are things bolted to you? He must have been under... And... Okay, so how does he have mobility in his finger? His hands are bolted everywhere. I don't feel like...
Because if I remember correctly, I think his index finger was the only finger that wasn't bolted.
Right. Even so.
Because if I remember correctly, his three fingers and his thumb were legit bolted all around.
Right.
But his index was only bolted.
How painful would it be to even move your... I mean... Your finger's still connected to the rest of your hand. I'm not a doctor or anything.
Don't forget, this is an alternate future.
Right.
We don't know the drugs they have.
So he may have been numbed from
yes.
The entire...
Yes, and the body does incredible things under pressure.
Yes, it does. I wouldn't have... It wouldn't have mattered whether I believed it or not. My immediate reaction would have been roll up in a ball in the corner and cry. Like, why? Why are there guns?
Would your thought process change if what happened in the film, people broke into your house and knocked you the fuck out?
If you had that, if that happened first?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Because you remember...
I guess I was taking it as that I had already went through all this. So the first scenario was I just wake up, no context whatsoever.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, then I might go back to sleep.
Well, that's how I was viewing it.
Right.
That's why I said I would go back.
If I have some context.
Yeah.
Then
so that's some context.
Right.
Because if I had context, I would be freaking the fuck out.
Right. I would probably roll up in a ball in the corner and cry.
So no matter what.
Yeah, that's probably how this is going. It wouldn't have been an interesting movie had I been the main character.
What would your thoughts be if you knew you were now in an online reality TV show that ends in death?
So I think the immediate thing I would do is I'd probably roll up in a ball.
I had a feeling. Because you're probably...
And cry. But I wouldn't just be crying in pain. I would be embarrassed as well, which would make the crying harder.
If you knew you were on a deaf reality TV show, you would probably...
Well, he didn't know yet that he was on the show, right?
No, but I'm saying... I'm adding that to the bit. I'm saying that you would probably cry even harder and get to a ball shape even quicker with that nugget.
Right.
Because I feel you would not think there's any hope now.
Right. There's no hope.
I've never shot a gun before.
I've literally never shot a gun before.
I haven't either.
I have no interest in gun. I'm all for
pro guns.
I'm pro gun in politically, but I personally have no use for a gun.
Wow. That's awesome to hear. Because most people, they normally side politically with how they believe. So you're...
Well, yeah, that's why I'm not going to...
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what I think. Guns exist. Whether I have access to one or not, other people are going to.
Exactly.
I don't have to like that they exist, but I understand that they do. You can't undiscover the, splitting of the atom, so to speak.
Would that be a metaphor? Or were you just making...
I don't know. I think it was just a thought that I had.
I liked it.
It's a metaphor because I'm using it to explain something else.
Yes.
But it's not a simile because if it had been, I would have used like or as.
And if it was prolonged, it would have been an allegory.
Yes, it would have. Wow. We should have a literary podcast.
If you bring up the terms, I'll remember them.
I think I just said everything I know about.
Yo, it's so funny, too, because I was thinking about red herrings.
Right.
And I remember there's a whole list. Because red herring is one example of something that I can't remember. And there's
it's something, a red herring is a fake out, right?
Yeah,
something
but there's
like that.
a dozen different types of fake outs, and red herrings is just one of them. And I spent 30 minutes without looking it up. Just trying to think of one other one. And I couldn't. And I felt like a failure. I couldn't think. I felt just like Daniel Radcliffe's character in this film.
So you're saying a synonym of red herring?
No. You know,
something with a negative connotation, though.
Yeah. This is what I'm talking about. I remember specifically in 11th grade, our teacher...
We're like two blind people trying to find something.
Okay, so let's say there's 100 literary devices.
Okay.
Half of them are used in a positive context to lead a reader in the right direction.
Gotcha. Oh, okay.
And there's another 50 that are used to fool the reader. One of them is a red herring.
The opposite of that then would be dramatic irony. This is something that we know, but the character doesn't.
Yeah, but that's still technically not a negative because it's not fooling us.
I just wanted to say it because it's a fancy phrase that I knew.
Yeah, because technically, isn't there a different type where both the character and the audience don't know?
So nobody who knows?
The author.
That's like if you that's like if something does not exist in the mind. There's 4 types of existence, right? This is like Aristotle, I think. So, sorry. It's something that exists. There's 4 types of existence, something that exists in the real world and as a concept in the mind. So like this cup.
Yes.
Okay.
That we believe.
Right. Something that exists in the world, but not in anybody's mind, which you can't know that. Okay. Something that exists as a concept, but not in the world, like...
Love.
Yeah. Wow. We all know your stance on that, I guess.
I'm a hopeless romantic.
And then something that does not exist in the world and does not exist as a concept, which you can't even
process.
I can't even process that. So my mind went to the same place as it does when I try to think about that when you just described what you described.
Okay.
Because if the audience doesn't if the audience doesn't know it and the character doesn't know it,
yeah,
I don't know where that could be happening anytime you read anything, right?
But I remember it's a term that is specifically.
So the author knows it. So you're saying maybe there's like what's below the iceberg.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I get you. Something that exists in the world, but it's beyond the scope of the particular story you're reading.
Yes.
Okay.
But it could also be depending where the story goes.
Right.
And like it might not exist at the beginning, but...
Oh, but later, like, okay, you can foreshadow something that nobody knows about.
Without foreshadowing.
Okay. Because nobody can know what's happening. So everything in the next chapter, anytime you read anything... It falls into the category of something the character doesn't know and you don't know unless you are reading a time travel story.
True.
Then the character may know what's going to happen.
Unless you're reading a story where everything...
My brain can't process this conversation anymore.
I feel like I'm high.
You just naturally got there.
I don't even know how we segue all the way over here.
Yeah, weren't we talking about a movie?
I don't remember.
So Guns Akimbo.
Okay, getting back to the questions at least.
Right.
How would your reaction or your thoughts change, if they would change at all, if instead of guns, 2 pistols, let's say it was 2 AK-47s?
Those are This is where I'm gonna sound stupid. Those are bigger, right?
I would say they weigh at least 3 times as much.
Yeah. I don't think I'd be able to move. I'm a small dude as it is.
Yo, you would use them as
They'd be crutches.
Yo, you should have got pimped out with snipers,
Maybe
bro.
if you shot them like downward,
you
could propel yourself up into the air. I might try that. Can I say I like that he the tiny bit of realism was when he first shot the gun and realized how loud a gunshot actually is.
The only problem I had with the film, though, is that the film started off quote unquote realistic, and then they broke their own balls.
Spiraled out of
because
control.
That was the only moment where.
Oh yeah, because that was the only time it bothered him. After that, he's a veteran.
And trust me, your ears don't adapt
right.
that quickly, because this entire film takes place over the course of 24 hours or something like that.
There's no way that he adjusted to that.
And if
after
he did,
his first reaction, unless he just blew out his eardrums that first time.
But then how can he hear the other characters?
Yeah, no, you're right. That's not. Yeah, but it's like you said, it's an absurd movie.
I agree.
It just spirals further and further out of control.
Yeah,
it gets more ridiculous. So I'll forgive it that. I like that they put in the bit of the gun being loud for him.
No, I thought that was great. But for me, my only thing is, I just prefer consistency in films. So for me, I was so amped. I'm like, holy shit, they're going to make a realistic video game film. This is going to be cool.
So let's picture the rest of the movie where every time he's around gunfire, he has to protect his ears, or his ears hurt, or he's freaking out about his ears.
Well, first off,
I feel like the movie would have been all about that.
Well, first off, if we're going to go that realistic, a woman who's been assassinating people for how many years
would have killed him.
Would have not missed how many freaking shots?
He would have died in his apartment, and that would have been the movie.
Or at the very least, he would have died going down the fire ladder.
It would have only been slightly more interesting of a film than mine, where I was in the corner crying.
That is a good point.
So you have to let them.
Oh yeah, I know. It's film logic.
Right.
It's film logic.
The magic of movies.
And to be fair, I find it. I would have found the film more interesting if he had some type of Kratos weapon. To where, how would have your thoughts?
It did kind of
in terms of actual blades.
Right.
How different would the film be if it was
not as? So I feel like any kind of blade requires. That would have been harder to believe because that would require actual skill, some amount of actual skill to use, like rather than just pressing a trigger and pointing.
That's a good point. And it's easier to fake not being shot and shooting rather than not being cut in pieces.
Right, yeah. Like, he wouldn't have gone very far with blades.
Yeah, that's a good point. Well, just blow up that question.
With your reality and shit.
Okay, so the next set of questions has to do with the people interacting with him.
I love the bum. He's my favorite character in the whole movie. I wish the whole movie was about him.
Yes, I would watch those scenes with him again.
I think that specific guy is a really fun. I don't know who the hell he is, but he's also in.
He's in a lot.
Yes Man.
Oh, he is.
He's the boss in the bank.
Yes.
Every time that guy says anything, I crack up, which is funny because his character in that was obsessed with Harry Potter. I just remembered.
He was.
Yeah.
Full circle,
Connected.
Isn't it?
Yeah, it's all connected.
I like his delivery as an actor.
His voice is just. He doesn't even really have to say anything funny. His like you said, his delivery.
His voice and delivery.
Yeah.
It's not what he says, but it's how he says
him.
it.
He's just a funny guy.
He is.
Yeah, but that was ridiculous. And I like wisdom coming from like unlikely places. Like he was like the prop him up and like really set him on his journey.
Even though OCD wise, that scene with the hot dog just completely.
Oh dear God. That was disgusting. Like, yeah, that was designed to be as gruesome as possible.
Bro, it's just.
And then he's like, and then he asked. I can't remember what he asked him, but he said, "I don't know. It's been there for about 10 months."
I could have got past it falling on the ground. I could have got past that nasty nacho cheese, but the 10 months thing.
So how great would it have been if he made it alive through that whole ordeal and then he died of food poisoning? right at the end.
That would have been a twist.
Yes, it would have.
It would have been a better twist than the twist we ended up getting. Let's go bigger. Across the globe.
Let's rewrite the movie ourselves.
There's a video game called Watch Dogs. And it initially started off in Chicago, and then it quickly expanded across the world. And the third game takes place in alternate future London. And when I saw that scene and one of the spots was London, it had the same aesthetic. And I'm thinking, yeah, this is really just... That part reminded me of a freaking video game. And I just... And I'm the type of person, I hate when we get a tease for something, and I know because the film didn't do good financially, we're never...
It's not gonna... This movie won't have a sequel.
No.
But I also think it's okay to... I don't know, I kind of like that. I kind of like knowing there's a bigger universe that... I think it's okay to end things. So...
But for me, I was okay with them saying... Because the dude said, it's more than me. I was okay with that. For me, the thing I didn't like was the very end where he's in the car.
Yeah, he went into the future, and you know that he's going to destroy more places.
Yes.
So I'm completely cool with that ending.
Okay.
I think it's cool. Are you familiar with the Back to the Future films at all?
Yes.
So that ending of the first Back to the Future, where we're going, we don't need roads, where, they take off in the car,
it was
presumably into the future.
Yeah.
No, there was no sequel. That was meant to be a fucking ridiculous ending.
Oh, it was?
Yeah, it was meant to be a ridiculous, fanciful ending. They would not have ended it that way if they knew they were writing a sequel because they thought it was too ridiculous.
And then the sequels only came out because the first one made so much money?
Yeah. The sequels were shot back to back. They gave them 2 new movies after the first one did so great. That's why the stories are so kind of intertwined for those ones.
Very similar to Pirates.
But yes.
Because the first Pirates, there's no
guarantee. They didn't think anything was going to happen with that, and that completely exploded.
Yeah, back to back.
But the point being, I think it's completely acceptable to have a into the future thing. I don't need to know, but it's kind of cool to think about the fact. I guess it makes us more active. If I cared enough about Guns Akimbo, which I don't, I could picture myself, what happens in the future.
So you're saying they might have made this ending hoping, or not hoping.
Maybe they didn't even make it hoping to make a sequel. Maybe they wanted to leave you that way.
I respect that. If that's the case, then I respect
There's something to be said. I think a lot, especially today where people get very angry with stuff that people don't like ambiguity in storytelling, and that's what I'm drawn towards. So people see things can be written intentionally ambiguous and not giving answers on purpose. But that's completely different from, the creators just didn't know or thought that they would be able to explain later or blah, blah, blah. It need not be a failure. That might be the entire point. That there's something you're just not going to know, and that's up to you to deal with how you will.
In either situation, if they're not hoping for a sequel, I don't care. I've gotten so used to so many films ending like that because they know.
I mean, this movie, it wasn't they probably were hoping for a sequel, but
you're speaking.
Didn't have to be that.
Yeah.
Now I'm being pretentious again, but they probably weren't concerned with being artsy.
If you were the girl, right, would you have believed him? You remember the very first time he hops in the car and he has guns and then she kicks him out?
Well, he did have guns nailed to his hands, so there's that.
I felt she overreacted.
Right. I also felt like it was the first time we met her, so it's hard to say it wasn't true to her character. But from her and the whole rest of the movie kind of retroactively makes you think why did she react that way? It was a different character in the first scene than the entire rest of the movie.
That was my problem, especially because they have history. So for example, if I had history with an ex and we're still at least somewhat cool, like the film hints, if my ex came into my car with guns to her hands, the first thing I'm going to think about isn't that she's a serial killer or whatever.
Chances are that he's not trying to kill. She just that was such a, I don't know. shallow response like that you would just write of any random character.
One-dimensional.
And then they scream and run away.
I felt that was only there to move the plot in that specific
yes.
direction.
Yeah, I think this movie had a lot of that. I don't think they were super concerned with, characterization and stuff, but much was done in service of the plot rather than like this is what a person would actually do or how they would react.
But how would you have reacted?
How would I have reacted, or if I was her?
Yes, or a guy version of her.
He tried to mentally prepare me for it.
He did.
I'm going to show you something. It's going to be really fucked up.
Yeah.
Okay. So having said that, if the introduction to the conversation was like he runs up to the car waving guns, Akimbo, then I would have screamed and driven off. But
he was trying to hide it.
That entire, forget about like relationship history. They had an entire scene of build up. So it just didn't make sense. With the conversation beforehand, I would not have done what she did.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. If anything, I would have been freaking out in a cool way.
But then she goes straight to the police and defends him. He's a really great guy, which is why I screamed and ran away from him.
Of all the characters, I just did not like her character.
She was dumb. She was there.
Well, there was no
right.
She was legit a plot.
She was there to be. Yeah, that was I don't know, Princess Peach. I don't know games. She was there to be the.
Sadly, yeah. Let's say we weren't in the film. Let's just say we randomly woke up in this situation, but we didn't have to worry about our life.
Okay.
How long would you be able to go before you shot yourself? And specifically, how would you be able to handle anything? As the film emphasized, from just using your phone to peeing.
Oh, God. Like trying to do stuff?
And not shoot yourself.
Not very far. But it's hard to shoot yourself when you're just sitting in the corner crying.
I love how you keep bringing this. See, now if you were a character, you're staying true to your character.
Yeah, exactly. Consistency, people. It's not hard.
Yeah.
No, but I'm pretty clumsy, and it's not. It would be very easy to hit that trigger by accident.
Yeah.
I would probably shoot myself pretty quickly. I would not have went through that bathroom scene unscathed, probably.
Bro, I
probably wouldn't have tried, though. I would have just
peed yourself?
Yeah.
In the corner?
In fact, that probably would have just automatically happened when I realized that there were guns bolted to my hands.
From start to finish, that bathroom scene was a thing of art because, man, it made me... Yeah. I was feeling for my own penis.
Yep. And it was perfect. The ending of the scene was perfect when he said, "It's okay. you didn't shoot yourself in the chest." Like, yeah.
Even though in any normal situation, everything he just did is like, yo, bro, he didn't even make the actual target half the piss.
Yeah. But he looked on the bright side because he didn't shoot his dick off.
Yo, he didn't even fire the gun.
Right.
Let alone shoot his dick off.
I wouldn't have been able to drive the car, certainly. Especially, it was a stick shift, right?
Oh, dude, because I drive stick. So and it was in the city, bro.
Yeah. How much do you have back and forth?
Bro, my mind was... I would have probably...
No way. That was unrealistic.
If you still had... Let's say you had to go to work, but they didn't care, hypothetically speaking, that you had guns.
Right? Because that's not important. You can still come to work, right?
I probably an hour into, especially where we work, bro. An hour in,
wouldn't happen.
I would have gone to the bathroom and just ended it.
Right. Yeah, I wouldn't have went to work. I would have just. I just shoot myself.
I would have signed up for every type of government program plan so I could stay at home. I would have faked pregnancy.
Well, I think that
would apply. Right?
I think you could probably get a doctor's note.
Especially if it was made out of the steel of Wolverines.
Right.
Antimanium. To where you couldn't cut them. Your hands are like that forever.
That would be freaking horrible. Well, what if you just cut off your arms and use prosthetics? They can do pretty amazing stuff these days.
Well, first off, I would just cut off my hands.
Right. Well, how far does the gun...
Because they were just pistols.
But he had the ammo thing going far down
Were they bolted?
Was that part? I don't know. Oh, probably not. Yeah, you're right. Okay, so hands. That's not bad. It's not bad. You don't need hands. It would be easier. Okay, would it be easier? Would it be easier to do day-to-day things with hands but guns bolted to them, or without hands at all?
I think without hands.
I think so too, because at least there's not extra things in the way.
Well, if you had no hands, you don't have to worry about chewing your dick.
Right. There's the danger element certainly is gone.
And then if we still live in the same world we live in, you don't have to worry about going anywhere and people think you're a terrorist.
Right.
Or a robber.
It's much less threatening to not have hands.
And you get pity points.
Yes, exactly. Man, I think that would work out. That would really work out.
Yo, you know how many women are all about pity points?
Yeah. They'd be much more attracted to that than dual wielding weapons.
Yeah. Unless you have one of those really
dude likes danger.
Yes.
Like, hands.
There's women like that too.
Bolted to guns. That's sexy.
But there's the same amount of women who say, "Oh, you don't have any hands at all, and that's sexy." Nub me.
Preferences. Everyone can find.
As a quick segue, I've heard that there is some type of porn where people
for everything. Yeah.
So, you would make so much money in the porn industry with no.
Yeah, I'm sure of it.
Especially if you have a description of how you got your
oh god,
your nubs.
Because that's like backstory. That's like,
bro,
set the mood.
You could make a film. That's your film.
Right.
Sell your entire life story. Boom. Make a book. Make a podcast. Yo, you know
take it on the road and give talks.
Make a TV show about your podcast.
Right.
Limitless
merchandise too. You could.
Let me nub you.
Stumps. Yeah.
Stumping.
Stumping.
But not the dancing. Yeah, for me, people don't consider how useful their hands and feet really are.
No, they are very. Yeah, it would be unbelievable to have to go through life and in any situation. Props to anyone who actually does have to go through life without hands. Yeah. That's difficult.
The next film is Jungle. Jungle was released in 2017.
Okay.
So it's actually the second newest of these three films.
Gotcha.
So it's 2014, 2019, and 2017.
Okay. This one was in the middle.
Yes. Okay, so basically, this is one of... a lot of films say based on a true story. This film is... Because it goes basically as... It's based off of a novel, which is based off of a real life situation.
Right, which is amazing because this...
We're going to get into that. But when this film says, when it promotes a true story, it's not saying based. It is really...
It's not like loosely adapt. This is...
Well, as
close as you could possibly
get.
Was it written by It was written by...
The man who survived.
Right, yeah.
And he's actually low-key very wealthy now.
Really?
Yeah. He's into the whole tech industry.
Oh. Interesting.
Yes. And he's an Israeli, by the way. So that's why Daniel Radcliffe...
Yeah, that's another thing I was going to say, accents. He did the American accent in the one movie, then the Guns Akimbo, and then his natural accent in the other one, and this one.
What if he did his British?
Yeah. And then he spoke differently in this one, and he sounded really good.
Yeah, I don't know how Israeli's supposed to sound.
Right, I'm also I guess I don't have enough knowledge to be critical, but it sounded good to me. I believed him.
It sounded foreign.
Yeah. From my dumb American perspective, it sounded good.
But it didn't sound European foreign. It sounded in that area. So, no, because there's a lot of Middle Easterns in Buffalo, so it was in that range.
Right. It hit the same,
yes,
place in the ear.
So,
it was a good performance.
There's some parts I just want to point out for background. So, two of the characters there's 4 total characters. Mm. One of them is Daniel Radcliffe and his partner. They decided to go down the river. And then the 2 other characters decided to go through the jungle, right?
Right.
So just so you know, everything in that was true.
Was how it happened.
Marcus
and those other two were never seen again, right? When they
Yep. Marcus and Carl never made it back to La Plaza. The last time they were ever seen was by Yossi and Kevin. Yossi is the Israeli
the main character, yeah,
Daniel
and
Radcliffe.
Kevin was the guy who went on the raft.
Yes.
What was the other friend's name? That's the one I forgot.
I believe it was Carl.
Carl. Okay.
Because Marcus, I
is
believe.
the tour
Yeah.
guy. Okay.
Who would have thought that being trapped in the Bolivian rainforest for 3 weeks would have actually been the smart decision? Meaning.
Right. Yeah. Well. Yeah, that was a shot in the dark, no matter what.
No,
Yeah.
because I'm thinking about it. I don't think I would have went down the river. I think I would have went.
Hell no. No, I wouldn't have done that.
So if
Screw that. I'd be out of there.
If all 4 of them went in the rainforest, this film, this narrative, everything that's transpired from Yossi would not exist right now. Isn't
That's amazing.
Talk about what
How many
if,
missing stories are out there
Oh yeah,
from people who just haven't survived
Disappeared.
stuff? Things we'll never know.
it's a what if, man. What if?
That is a what if. Oh, so okay. What if the other group had survived? That's what you're saying?
No, I'm saying what if the 2 that did survive decided, okay,
Oh, to go home. We wouldn't be having this conversation.
yeah,
We wouldn't have heard any of this.
no.
Nobody would have.
Who knows where Daniel
Oh,
Radcliffe?
who knows? Or maybe they would have changed the fate of that other journey. There's
True.
2 extra people. Maybe they would have survived for some reason.
Yeah. But what if those 2 people didn't survive because of aliens? 2 additional people would have helped.
4 people versus aliens? I don't think so.
No, but I really did feel bad for their friend because he.
Me too. Very much. Well, you know what I found most? So in survival things and things like this, and the guy even mentioned this, the tour guide stuff, like, oh, you're going to find out who you really are. Like, and I think that's a truth to any like survival situation when it's just like you become your
True character.
essential self.
Yeah.
And what I loved about his 2 friends there was, they really get stripped down to their core by the time so when those 2 guys first meet, presumably they're friends before they meet Yossi. And when they first introduce them, when they first see each other, they embrace like twice. Like they're so fond of each other.
Yes.
And they go on this journey. The one guy, it turns out, like, is a real, he can't take it. He's a wimpy kind of whatever.
Oh, the other guy. Yeah.
And then the other guy, conversely, is like the very, he becomes like the alpha survivalist, like, and he can't, and they just, the divide that goes between them, like in society, they think a lot of each other, but all that's stripped away. And when they leave each other, he barely looks him in the eye, and it's like barely a handshake that he gives him. So that, when you think of, I don't know, that versus, I thought it was a pretty stark contrast.
I love you said that because we're Candace Owens fans.
Right.
And she has the famous, or she doesn't, but she uses the famous quote, "Easy life creates weak men."
Yeah, that's true. I didn't know that she had that. I'm a fan of her, but I only know of her like being on Ben Shapiro and that sort of thing.
Okay. Well, to be fair, I believe she's quoting somebody else, but she uses that quote a lot, especially now with everything going on with a lot of men.
No, that's true. That's the what's it?
Easy society
Creates weak
men. Weak men ruin the society.
Right.
Which creates hard times.
Right. And then hard times create
strong men. And it's a never-ending cycle.
Yeah. Which
theoretically
makes
speaking.
Sense. That makes perfect sense. I think there seems to be an ebb and flow to history that kind of proves that, I think, too.
But it's a great point. If you had to go to war, I wouldn't want to go to war with the one guy. I would want to go to war with
the Oh, absolutely.
With the Kevin.
Absolutely. But I mean, there's something lost in that too. That I feel like Yossi was the perfect in between.
He was
for them. He still had enough compassion to
feel for the other person.
Are you familiar with? Have you ever seen The Walking Dead?
No.
It was I hate. Well, I can't use that comparison then. I just want to say I don't like zombies. The first couple seasons of that show were great because it wasn't a zombie story, but then it became one, and it was every other stupid horror thing. But the first couple seasons of that have great things about like upstanding people by society standards, that when you strip that away, that they essentially become a brute character who is great for survival, but
they're not great for society.
Is that survival worth it? Like, given what you lose along the way.
But to be fair, Kevin was a successful society man too.
Right.
It just, he knew how to, and this is where I want to defend Kevin, because on the outside looking in, Kevin looked like the dickhead. If everybody listened to Kevin.
Right. No. And he was very,
And by the way, if they had those 2 additional people on the raft, it would have been 2 more eyes. They might have not
got separated.
Because
lost.
you remember they got separated because they went to that waterfall and tipping point.
Right.
And that's what caused the entire situation. And don't forget, too, the friend that ended up going with the traveler, he should have been the one of anybody on the raft because his feet were completely done. You remember that part? Where his feet, the fungus?
Oh, yeah.
Why are you still walking? You should not be walking.
He should have been the one on the raft, is what you're saying.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, that would have been that. It was longer to get to civilization that way. I think that was the
supposedly
right.
When it turns,
well, yeah, but they didn't know that.
Yeah, but as Kevin said, if you follow the river, you're going to find civilization no matter what. If you go in the forest,
but they couldn't take the river all the way.
Yeah, but
they had to stop at some point.
Yeah, but you remember all they had to do was get off, and all they had to do was walk around and build another raft. And if they had all 4 people, it would have been quick time.
So you're saying the raft was a smarter decision, even not knowing
what's
going to happen?
Yes. I can't say what I would have done.
Right. I think this is the kind of story where part of the like whole premise of being stripped down to your essential self is that no one can say if we would have been a Kevin or if we would have been a Carl or a Yossi, like you have to go through it, to kind of see what you're made of, or strip away it's a self-discovery thing. We haven't done that work. We can't say what we would have done.
Yeah. You could only assume.
Right.
Project.
And hope. Right.
My only thing is I feel like I would have... 2 things why I think I would have leaned to the raft. First and foremost, assuming let's say I'm the guy who goes with the traveler, right? First off, I've known Kevin much longer than I know this guy.
Guide?
Yeah, the guide.
Right.
So that's one reason, even with us beefing.
But the guide knows the land.
True, but you remember how the guide was initially he knew all about the river.
Right.
And the moment he got on the river, he didn't...
He's afraid of
swimming.
Swimming, right.
So if he hid that from me...
What else did he... Well, it was shady from the beginning. Maybe they never got discovered who went the other way because he did something shady. Who knows?
Exactly. We don't know. What if he killed the other person out of survival of meat or whatever, and then he eventually starved to death? So we don't know that. I'm just saying I'm really big on loyalty, and I'm really big.
No, that's fair.
And I'm really big on principle/consistency. So if I'm trusting you because you're an expert on something, and one of your key pillars of being an expert completely fall apart,
yeah, you don't have much to stand on at that point. But your friend, you may trust in his character, but that doesn't mean he knows what he's doing. And his character is kind of diminishing, too. His humanity, as he becomes a better survivalist, his humanity is slowly being stripped away. Would he? I think, actually, Kevin would be the more likely. We didn't see how deep that rabbit hole goes, because we didn't see him completely succumb to the kind of things that Yossi was exposed to. We didn't see his journey. But, like you said about did he eat the friend or whatever, and blah, 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 I think... Continuing on with Kevin, that would have been much more likely.
I disagree, because if Kevin was that person, he would have never spent how many weeks waiting for Yossi, and then...
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
That's
he
why
went back for him. That refused to.
And he,
to
I think the time frame was because I believe
it was a while, like over 14 days, a couple of weeks.
2 weeks.
Yeah,
2 weeks. How many people would have not only looked for a friend for 2 weeks but stayed in that ratty?
Right. Yeah, no, you got me there. Yeah, he definitely, that showed his colors too.
And don't forget too, the reason why Kevin was getting pissed off was the combination of the one guy not doing what he was supposed to do with airing his feet to make sure.
Right.
And he was slow.
And he was right.
And when you keep siding with a guide who is slowly showing he might not know everything that he says he does,
right,
you're breaking loyalty. You're breaking the trust.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's it's not as black as white why Kevin was starting to really distance himself. If you really get down to the
it's multidimensional for sure.
Yeah,
but holy shit.
I think this film was the story and the characters and the relationships
were perfectly told. Yes, it worked. Can I just say I loved how masterfully that Yossi confronted Carl about like we're gonna go this way and you're gonna go that way, but like saving his pride by saying, "Oh, I want to give up and go." I forgot how he did it exactly, but he pulled some like reverse psychology shit where it seemed like Carl was doing him the favor when he was actually trying to get rid of him.
That was shady, though.
I thought it was. I thought that was.
It was smart.
I don't know, but sometimes shady. It's good. Yeah, I don't think it was shady. I think he did it for him. Not. I don't think that was a selfish motive.
You think so?
If he didn't care about sparing his feelings, he would just said, "Fuck you, we're taking the raft, and we don't want you to come with us because it'll slow us down."
But that guy didn't want to take the raft to begin with because he sided with the guide.
I forget now exactly how the scene went, but
I remember
it was in some way. I felt it was in some way sparing his feelings.
I thought it was selfish because it was I felt he did that to save his relationship with the guy. Wow. That's the vibe I got. I thought it was completely selfish because he wanted to be on the water.
But I think if he wouldn't have done that and he would have let Kevin tell him, I think he was afraid of, like, what that would have been like. Because he would have just told him, screw you, you're slowing us down.
But Kevin was going to go down the river no matter what.
Right. But he also did not want Carl to go with him.
But Carl, I don't think would have gone with him anyway. It was more so, is Kevin going to go by himself or not?
Right. One of us has to go with Kevin.
If that's the case, all he had to say, I'm going to go with Kevin, you go with him.
Right.
But he tricked him to make him...
So why go through any of that then?
Because he wanted to save the relationship. Because remember, he knew that character before Kevin.
Right.
He only knows Kevin because of...
Right, because he introduced them.
Yeah.
It's unclear, though, how much they all knew each other after that, though.
Well, to be fair, they didn't because 2 ended up living, 2 ended up missing.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, so the time in between him meeting the first guy and the second guy introducing him to the second guy, that could have all happened in a few days. And then they were, like, I think friends for a year or so after that before they went on this trip.
No, all of this was within the same time period because from the moment the film starts to ends, it was roughly a year.
Okay.
From the research I did. Because this Yossi guy wanted to travel the Americas, and it was the reason why he didn't have money because his family looked down on him.
For throwing his life away by doing the...
Yep.
What's the survival thing where... There was another survival thing where that was supposed to be based on a true story, where this guy, like, gave away all his possessions and went and lived in the forest, and then he, like, ended up eating some bad berries and dying.
Oh... It's based on a book.
That's a thing,
It was directed by Sean Penn in Seattle or whatever.
By Sean Penn?
Yeah.
Really? I didn't know. That's interesting.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Oh, yeah.
It's a novel that was turned into a film.
Yes. Is it Into the Wild? Is that it?
Into the Wild.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep. In Alaska.
Yeah.
But by the way, that's not a fact because the novel thinks it's one thing.
Oh, really?
And
So we don't know how he...
Yeah, the film...
The point is he died.
The film assumes he ate bad berries. The author who wrote the book assumed it was more so he just ended up... I can't remember, but it was completely different. It was like he just ended up starving to death.
Either way, what I love about that is it's commendable. Like, even though he just, like, died, it's commendable that he did what he wanted to with his... I feel like that would be the story of me. Like, I had no survival skills, but if I had the balls to go out and live off the land and, like, die in a week because I don't know anything, like, that would be pretty cool.
But the author of the book makes the case that he came from such a rich family, he would have created more change by putting that money towards actually moving other people, because one person isn't going to change anything.
Well, what was his? Was that his motive? What was his? I don't remember the story in detail.
His motive was the combination of his family has all this money, and this was at the point where the world is carbon dioxide and all that stuff.
Right. So you're saying he should have been like a philanthropist and, you know,
or just put his energy and time into being a scientist or something.
Right.
Okay, let's get back to
He certainly would not have died from eating bad berries or something else that we don't know of.
Or at least he wouldn't have died in that brutal of a manner.
No, he wouldn't have. I still think it's cool, though.
Okay, so quick more details. Jungle is straight up a fact-based film. The perspectives were changed slightly from stuff like little stuff. Who came up with the plans? How the plans actually went down? All this other stuff. But when it comes to the overall scheme, this is one of the...
You have to change details a little bit just for, you know, the
suspense.
Plot of a film. Yeah.
And drama. Yossi almost got eaten by a jaguar.
Holy crap.
Do you remember that?
Was on the edge of my seat during that. That scared the... I knew at some point there's going to be some run-in with a large cat. Now, how is that going to go?
That's supposedly true.
That was terrifying as shit.
The ant scene was supposedly true.
Okay, I didn't completely understand that. Like, why he did that.
He did that because it gave him adrenaline to get to the shore.
Oh, okay. All right. It like woke him up. That was a pick-me-up.
Yeah.
I guess that would do it.
It's smart.
Yeah.
It's really smart.
That also surprised me that they brought speed with them for that purpose. Is that like a thing?
Yes, it is. But to be fair, the only thing I disliked about his decision-making, he would have never been in the situation he would have been in if he didn't spend 3 days going back up the river to look for his friend. Do you remember this?
Right, yeah.
So it wasn't described in the film, but I looked it up. When he went back looking for looking for Kevin, it might have seemed like a day in the film or a night. He spent 3 days.
But that's the loyalty that you admire, right? That's the same kind of loyalty that Kevin showed by staying for weeks.
No, but you remember what Kevin said? Go down the river until you reach.
Right. It wasn't sticking to the plan.
And if we've learned anything about Kevin, he
makes the plan and he's a survivalist. Listen to the survivalist.
So Yossi, I feel that was his biggest mistake, and if you take away that mistake, I feel he would have never
fared better.
Because bro, think about it. Those were the most 3 important days where he had the speed and he had the most energy.
Yeah, he was out of it by then. He was already half.
Who knows where he could have been?
Right, that's true.
Okay, so another thing that was real, he actually almost drowned in that horrible flood.
Ah, yeah.
When he was sleeping. So that was...
okay, yeah. The one where... You know what? I like the dreams. I like the dreams that, the like escapist dreams he was having. But the beginning of that scene was the end of a dream where someone was pouring champagne on his face.
Which was the body's way of saying, wake the fuck
up. Yeah. It's like,
which, by the way, that was a very seductive scene, too.
Yes. Yeah.
With the female.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, fuck you, Rain.
It's like, what's the way? I know. Like, I was enjoying myself much more when I was dreaming.
Yes. He was living the high life. It looked
that's
like
the
this.
thing is the Oh, that's another thing I will continue.
No,
this is the efforts that his mind goes to to comfort himself, but not only as a way of escape, but as a like survival trick or technique. I don't think it was just evidence of the fact that he's going crazy because he's, out in the wilderness and hasn't eaten
for days.
Blah, blah, blah. But when he hallucinates that woman in the forest,
which by the way, I think
it's
true.
Significant what the hallucination was.
The representation.
Because I think he needed
someone.
He needed a protector. So he
needed someone to protect.
Yes. But I also think that I think just like, they say everyone in a dream is actually you. The girl was a personification of the
himself.
his scared, helpless self. He needed to make that external so he could become
manly.
the manly protector to protect that piece of himself.
Yeah.
Right? So he was carrying himself along. I think she helped him.
Oh, I agree.
She helped him like man up because, okay, I need to protect someone. He's protecting himself in that way, but he had to imagine that to get that energy out of himself.
And comfort.
Yes, and the comfort simultaneously.
Night, he was able to sleep, quote unquote, better because
he was he wasn't alone.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought that was yeah. Well, I guess I can't say brilliant because it just happened that way. Nobody came up with it.
No, but
that's amazing. That's just amazing that really happened.
They didn't have to emphasize that.
Right. They definitely latched onto that and milked it story-wise. So that was good the way they portrayed it. I think that was purposeful.
What's crazy, initially, though, I thought she was a real woman because
Me
of where
too,
she
because
popped up.
He was going for
the village.
The village, right? And the village was gone. So, like, she's the that's the other thing. The mind does stuff. It conceives of stuff that is believable, right?
Well, that's what makes you believe
it has to be convincing. Yeah. That was brilliant. I thought, I don't remember when it dawned on me that she wasn't really there, but I definitely bought in.
You know when it dawned on me?
Right away.
When they showed him hugging her, and then the very next scene they show him sleeping alone. That's when it dawned on me.
So the whole time. Yeah, that's probably what it dawned on me too. I can't give myself too much credit,
bro. I'm not going to lie to you. I was surprisingly into this
and
narrative.
I was like, holy fuck, yeah, yep. We can swear, right? It's a little bit late to be asking that.
Yeah, bro. This is Rhinos and Aliens. The bogs, because you remember how not only when it's flooding that one time, but the one time where he gets into that sand mud and he almost...
Yeah, like the quicksand sort of.
That happened twice in real life. Not only once, but twice.
Oh, that sucks. That would have been even worse the second time.
How did you fall for it?
Fuck.
I'm surprised he didn't give up the second time.
Right. I would have given up long before that. I would have been by some tree crying.
But you also have to think, he hasn't eaten in how many... Because this is going...
Right.
He was out there for...
That's the other thing, too, is this may be his account, but that's a very subjective thing.
Well, that's why I keep saying supposedly.
Right. How much did he actually remember accurately? Like, that's never going to be known.
No matter which way you look at it, if all of this was real or all of it was fake, his mind went through it.
What matters is the experience. Yeah. His mind's recollection of it is the experience, regardless of what. Yeah.
And no matter what, too, his body was completely bit up, so the ant thing is real. He was completely anorexic at that point.
Have you ever read this isn't based on a true story, or seen Life of Pi?
Yes. I've seen it so long ago that when I first watched it, I hated it, so...
Right. No, that's okay. But it has a similar thing, a similar survivalist thing.
Bro, when
I'd ask the question, what is the real story? What was experienced or what happened? And that's kind of what that is all about.
Perspective.
Yeah.
To the person who's in the moment, whatever he thinks happened. Because no matter, even if somebody finds out that none of that happened.
Right. But it did, because it existed as conceptually.
And it's in your brain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I fucking love that. I mean, I read the The book is a little bit. It's visually beautiful, that movie, but it's hard to get the whole story because it's like an internal thing.
Well,
but it kind of makes a larger point about using that as a metaphor for the value of religious storytelling and what does real mean and that kind of thing. I think you should watch it again. It's a really fucking good story.
No, I do. I'm going to, because I keep notes of all the films I watch, and I was so young when I saw that I didn't take notes, but yeah, I just remember that being the most overrated film I ever saw in my life because
I believe
it won so many Oscars and made so much money.
Right. Just so pretentious people could be like, oh, it was so. They had like viewings of it in France where people sat in boats to watch it, like
taking it too literal.
Right.
Now, to be fair, Ang Lee, I was not a fan of his Incredible Hulk.
Oh no! Oh my god!
But yo, if you rewatch it, bro, take away it being a superhero film,
it's smarter, like psychologically and stuff. That's what I've heard.
It's brilliant.
Is that what you're gonna say?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've actually wanted to rewatch it because I've heard the same things, and just like you said, I'm like, wow, would my adult self actually prefer that
over Disney's?
That's actually something that I did. Yeah, I did like Edward Norton's Hulk, but
oh yeah, I'm not a fan of the new Hulk, but we're getting off topic.
We're getting way off topic.
His feet were rotten from fungus.
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
Oh my God.
Well, he had like wet, shoes and socks on for
the entire time.
Days. Yeah.
Be it from the river or when it was raining.
There's so...
And yo, bro, not days. Those 2 weeks.
Right.
Because he was either in the river and he never dried his socks. Yo, the scene that got me, because I don't know if it's real or not. I can only believe what the film showed me. When he was taking the socks off, it was like they were super glued.
Right. He was like peeling them. It felt like he was peeling off layers of skin.
Well, from what I looked up, his feet did look like, they had like photos. His feet did look like that. I just don't know if his feet looked like that after he took his socks off or because of his socks. But I think that would have gotten to me more than anything else. Even the ants. It
all sounds and feels horrible to me.
If you don't have your feet, bro, you're
fucked. We are not the only reason that man is at the top is because we have this incredible power of shared storytelling that allows us to work together. Yeah. We're allowed to work together like on a crazy ass scale that no other animal can. By ourselves, we are horribly inadequate for any kind of. A man alone in the forest is in the jungle is just completely fucked. We are certainly not at the top of anything.
Especially modern day men.
We're on the bottom. Well, yeah, because we're not used to it.
Yeah.
Either. But we have no special anything that's made for, just being in the elements.
Not anymore. No.
I don't know if we ever did. Not by ourselves.
Well, I would
before the what would you say? Before like our revolution of consciousness, when we were able to start working together, man was not at the top of the food chain. We were scavengers. There's tools of like we used to break into a bone and stuff.
If you're speaking by ourselves, yes, I agree.
By ourselves, we are not. We are at the bottom. Maybe not at the bottom, but in the middle of the food chain.
I agree, but if you give a single man who was raised from the get-go.
Because that single man who was raised from the get-go is taking with him all the culture that came before him. No, we can also pass that. Part of those creating stories is passing on knowledge from... Oh, okay, gotcha. You're talking about his body's used to it.
If his body's used to it, but he still has the capacity to at least create basic tools, I would still take a Tarzan man over any wild. But, besides a bear.
Right. A bear wins.
Yes. But any cat, if you gave Tarzan and he eventually, without outside factors, just like created the simple stone tools. I would take a Tarzan over a leopard, a jaguar. I wouldn't give him the same.
But he's making tools, right?
Yeah, but men naturally make tools without knowledge.
Right, that's fair.
I'm not saying a gun.
Simple tools, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
it's been seen in some primates that they've actually made sticks. And,
yeah.
Yeah.
And another thing, too, I'm not saying he would be at the top, but he would be on at least the pair.
Right. He could,
Yeah.
He'd certainly do better than
us.
Yeah.
Even Joe Rogan, if you take away modern day weaponry, I think even Joe Rogan would admit, good luck.
You're right. It's not, yeah. We're so soft.
Yeah, because even Joe Rogan doesn't like using basic bow and arrow. He uses a complex.
Right. No, nobody. They have those freaking compound bows that you might as well be shooting a gun.
Oh,
it's like that's
except a bullet, it's an arrow.
Right. Wow. So much sport. I mean, here I'm making fun of. I'm sure it's not easy. I couldn't, but
in comparison.
Yeah, in comparison.
Yeah. So yeah, we both this came from the feet riding. No go, right?
No, fuck no.
Okay, now some of the stuff he ate. So that raw snake, he actually ate, supposedly. Could you have done that?
This is another one of the I feel like when you're that deep into
his situation,
yeah, you wouldn't even have to think about it.
It's meat.
It would just be like your body would take over. Like this is survival here. You're not thinking about cuisine or nothing like that.
I agree, but this next one, bro, I don't know. He supposedly did actually eat unborn birds that were in that egg.
That was hard to watch.
Bro, I have no problem eating wild eggs.
Right.
Yolk. Maybe even it's beginning to become an actual being. Birds, bro.
Baby birds, no. But there are, so again, I don't think that's very far from the realm of, it's a cultural thing where people eat some pretty, like...
Jordan told me about that in Asian countries.
Yeah. There's some, so civilized, it goes by, we can eat some pretty...
But cartilage,
we're culturally conditioned maybe to be more
cartilage
afraid of that stuff. But yeah,
I want to make this clear. I'm the person that when I eat chicken wings, I take the skin off and I don't eat any of the cartilage. Not because
really, I think you're maybe a little more than the average person.
Because bro, I can't force it down my throat. It just skin on chicken wings. I need my skin crusty.
What if you were starving to death and someone handed you chicken wing skin?
I will never know what I would do, but my initial...
Really? The skin of a chicken wing?
It makes me want to throw up.
That's not that, like, out there.
I don't like sogginess, bro. Like, you know how certain people have a certain... Like, they can't just consume something?
Right. Yeah, yeah. And there doesn't need to be a...
Like, for example, for whatever reason, I love squid and octopus. Even live squid and octopus. I love sushi. I love raw fish.
Like when it's full, like a full little piece of calamari where it's still in full form.
Yes. But for whatever reason, certain textures...
That is very strange that doesn't weird you out. And chicken wing skins too.
But this is what I'm saying. Certain people are different.
Right. Absolutely.
The whole texture of it. So when he was eating that and you heard the crunching,
right.
I'm like, how can you? Not because it's bones. I would eat humans if I had to. It's not that. It's the fact like I would never eat a human bone because
it's too crunchy.
But I love eating nuts because they're crunchy.
Right. That's very strange. I don't know what to make of that. I don't know what to do with that information.
If that sounds hypocritical, it probably is.
I'd fucking eat it.
Now, I'm not saying I wouldn't. In that moment, who knows, right?
Right.
Going back to that. But I'm saying with the way my mind is now.
I'm sure that looked like a steak dinner to him.
For example, I would probably be the weirdo. I would suck all the liquid, all the yolk out, and then I would eat the bird like I'm eating a chicken wing, taking the meat off of the bone. I hate bones that much.
How much structure does a baby bird really have?
Bro, that looked deep into the process, and from what he supposedly wrote, he said that the bird eggs he was eating were 10% away from hatching, type of stuff. Just to put this in perspective, that's like eating an 8-month-old baby.
Yeah.
To where the bones aren't fully calciumized, but
right, that's fair. Shit, man. Yeah, no, that's gross. No matter what way you look at it. But
that's
if it's
the only
between
thing I was
that
saying.
and survival,
yes,
you would eat it. I think you would.
I never said I wouldn't eat it. I was just saying the bones, bro. That just the whole. I can't even. It was like the crunch. It was like, bro.
I love it. I think it sounds appetizing as fuck.
Okay. Well, that is. After watching that film, I felt so appreciative from every aspect of
what we have.
Well, it's
even the simple things.
Well, it's also I've learned to be very. What's the opposite of cocky? Humble.
Humble, yes.
I felt like there was many moments in this film where they were too used to. Like they assumed everything was going to be okay.
Yeah, we take things for granted. Simple safety nets that we have. We complain about a fucking lot that we don't realize how much we get from just the basic things of being part of a society.
And not only that, the thing too, especially when it came to Kevin, these people were supposedly travelers. And by the way, they were traveling in the 80s when you weren't a tourist. You actually traveled. So I was so surprised that they did take so much for granted, even for them being the people who they were. It's like, wow, you guys of anybody should know, make sure you don't do certain things. Make sure you are on points with this and that. And I felt that some of those principles broke down for them the deeper they got in. And they just, going back to your point, I guess when you're in those situations, your true character does show.
Right. Because you only have yourself to rely on, right? I think we don't even realize how supported we are by everything else that's not immediately a part of us.
To be fair, I think we also need to blame not only ourselves, but society as a whole for that.
Right.
Because...
And I can sit here and look down on people and say, like, oh, everyone's soft because life's easy. I'm certainly not removing myself from that equation.
Oh, no. We're all to blame.
Yes, I am very soft.
But this film did make me think about my current situation and when people are making a big deal over certain things. I know it's part of, quote-unquote, society and business, but it really makes you think, if somehow everybody, or at least the people in power, could experience on any level.
Yeah, it would do us good. I think people vastly underappreciate the value of suffering. Like, not that I think it should be sought out, but trials you go through teach you things that turn you, that develops your character. The more you. That's why, like, one of the main things in spiritual practice is to, like, restrict yourself from comforts, so that you're more reliant on. Man, I started this and I don't know where I was going with it.
Yeah. I'm here for the ride.
Thanks.
It started off well, and now it's...
I know, and I went right off the rails, too. I get... What was the original... What did you say before I started talking? That's where I was going with this. Experiencing that kind of thing develops your character in a way that you can't otherwise. Yeah, that was the point of the spiritual practice thing. When you restrict yourself from comfort, it makes you develop your character and, like, higher faculties. Because it forces you to.
You're absolutely right. There's two different types of working hard and being humble. It's working 16 hours a day, and that's giving you the opportunity to be a billionaire, and working 16 hours a day just so you could eat food when you get home. There's the being humble, like, oh, I'm giving these people an opportunity to work,
But this is on a sliding scale too. I think it's the person who works 16 hours a day just to get food is also in a better place than some people. It's possible to not appreciate that either.
I'm just saying, I wish we appreciated just the basic.
You're right. The ground that we have to stand on to do those things.
Yeah. Like, I wish when we complained, it didn't have to be about, oh, my manager is being this. I wish we could complain about us, our being, not something that's man-made. Like, for example, going back 1,000 years, people didn't, quote unquote, they bitched about their king, but everybody was self-sufficient.
Right.
When they
certainly not. Yeah. Well, yes. Things are much more complex. We have far too. I don't think that's something that's possible to go back to, though. Everything's far too complex to. We're very far away from the things that actually sustain our survival.
This is for a different. I don't want to talk about it. This is going because the point I'm about to bring up is going to be another hour.
Yeah, we've holy shit.
Yeah,
we've been at it for a while.
Yeah. I know you wanted to say one thing about Daniel Radcliffe. You hinted at it at the beginning.
That's all I wanted to say. Good on you. Good career. Because I know Daniel Radcliffe is watching us. What?
You only emphasized it for What If.
I only know Daniel Radcliffe as,
Harry Potter.
The kid from Harry Potter. And this
Potter.
Yeah, he was able to he really has some acting chops. He spread his wings. He can do drama and
romantic
comedy, the gritty real stuff.
Yeah.
And I believed him in each and every one of those roles. So I just think that, I don't know, he's a much better actor than I gave him credit for.
You could make the case that in all three of these films, he was at least tied for being the best part of the film.
Oh, yeah. I don't think that's
especially Guns Akimbo. Especially Guns.
Well, there wasn't much to... That was an easy win. No, it wasn't, because the best guy in Guns Akimbo was the bum. I forgot.
Technically, touche.
But I got your meaning. He is definitely the highlight of all of these. And I feel sad that I haven't thought much of trying to watch his movies. I'm gonna think differently going forward.
You should.
Yeah,
you should.
Oh, think twice.
And by the way, guys, just if you're wondering, I do not agree with Daniel Radcliffe whatsoever politically, and I could still view his films with delight.
Oh my God, is that possible? I don't think that's possible. What are you talking about? He's the enemy if he doesn't agree with me. Well, I'm joking, by the way.
Well, did you hear what happened with that one?
No, I don't even know what his political persuasion is.
No, I wasn't going to get into that. What happened with the star, the UFC female fighter who was on The Mandalorian? She played a popular character.
Oh, no. I didn't know she was a UFC fighter, but yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? The Gino?
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, well, she just got fired. Because yep.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying, guys,
strikes again.
I want to make it clear. I don't agree, but that shouldn't be able to affect your...
Right.
Unless you're one of those...
His acting pretty much stays the same. I don't even know what his politics are.
And I'm not going to let you know. You can find out on your own.
Because you know what? I don't give a fuck.
Yo, by the way, guys, if you're not on the left, trust me, do not look up the history of a lot of people in Hollywood because you're not going to agree with a lot of stuff.
With anything. My greatest hero, he's in the entertainment industry.
Tell me off camera.
I vastly disagree with his could not disagree more. And I still idolize him. So it's possible.
Hey, you don't have to like somebody, respect them.
Right. Exactly.
Respect their craft.
Everybody's allowed to have. It's part of what makes us great is we all have different ideas, right? It's only our attachment to those ideas that make us assholes.
Yeah. I don't respect LeBron James as a human being, but I respect him as a basketball player.
You know what? He only has to play basketball because that's what his job is, right?
That's one perspective, yeah.
I don't know. I don't sport. I
don't sport. Okay, guys. As you probably already know, Daniel created this. I created the name 5-Finger Rhino Thrust.
What?
So the first thing, we want you to like this video, but if you did not, dislike it. That's cool beans too. Secondly, subscribe. Hit that big red button. Now, if you're going to subscribe, you might as well hit the bell. Ding-a-ding-ding. Ring-a-ling-ling. Yeah. The fourth thing, we want you to share. And this does not mean share just to your friends. Do that. But share it to your granny and share it to your cat. The whole family comes together here. And the fifth thing, comment about any one of these 3 films or anything we said about these 3 films or anything that we just completely segued because we had a couple of those.
Right.
And when you get those 5 and you did all 5, you could finally thrust that butt. All right. Cadoodle LLPH.
Just a friendly reminder, guys. Hit the subscribe button in this corner. And then for the newest video. Then for the most recommended. And then for our famous dick pic.